Ow, oh, ow! That is something you should not do. Hello my friends, Jetron is here. In today's video, I wanted to do my worst Louis Vuitton experience and purchase. I will admit, this is probably not the worst experience compared to other people's video here on YouTube. Mine is kind of a conjunction of things all in one. And in the end, it really did not make me want to use this certain item for the longest time. So with that being said, I am going to quickly go through this story, of course, and give you some sort of advice so you don't make this mistake like I did. Now you may be wondering, what is the item that I just have not used in the longest time? It is the Louis Vuitton Cle in the Damier Graphite print. Man, oh man, oh man, this item here, where do I even begin? Now for the longest time, I always asked the LV gods, yes, I do call them the LV gods, to finally make a Cle in the Damier Graphite. This item here was released back in 2019 of February or March, either of those 2 months. And I remember when I first saw this on Instagram, I was like, oh my god, I need to have it. I need it now. Prior to this being released, they only had the Damier Ebene, Damier Azur, and the monogram print. Now, if you have been following me for a while, you probably know that I do own the Damier Ebene one, and this is my holy grail. I love this thing to death. If I can only keep one item, it would definitely be this. And for someone like me who loves dark color accessories, I really wanted them to make the Damier Graphite in the Cle, and finally my wish was granted. So I remember checking online and it was completely sold out. I think I just had missed the first release of the batch. I then went to my Louis Vuitton boutique store and sadly it was not available there. I then called up the hotline. They couldn't help me track one down, but they told me not to worry. It was going to be released more in the upcoming weeks. Fun fact though, they didn't really know if this was going to be permanent or if it was just a limited edition item. And a couple of days after I made that call, it was available online again. So I was so ecstatic when I saw it. I immediately had no hesitation but to put it in my cart and purchase it. Now keep in mind, this was my very first time buying anything on the Louis Vuitton website, so of course I was just being a little cautious. With that being said, I went ahead and purchased this item through PayPal, and let me tell you, it was the worst mistake I ever made. Fast forwarding 5 days after that, the item got shipped to my local boutique. I went there, I looked in the store, and right away I did notice like there was something wrong with the Cle. It just didn't feel right. And at the time, this was when the newer model Cles were being introduced. I just was not familiar with how they feel and the shape of it. I left the store, went back to my car, and this is a ritual I always do. Every time I buy anything from Louis Vuitton or any luxury house or just anything in general, I always go into my car, lock the door because safety is important, and I open or just look at the item that I purchased in direct sunlight. I guarantee you guys, you will see every little details you probably miss or didn't see in stores, because most of the time department stores tend to have like mood lighting, softer lightings, and you just don't see everything. My goodness, you guys, I started to see the flaws. Now the first flaw that I saw was there was a stitch popping out inside of the Cle, and it was the band part. As you can see in the picture, how did they let this slide out from the factory or the warehouse and sell it to customers? Like, it's not good, you know, like quality issue was a thing. The zipper was completely different. It doesn't feel as smooth as the original, and it felt more cheaper, if anything. Like the hardware just doesn't feel as sturdy as before. I also noticed the shape of it because of the new model. The newer Cles are more curved rather than it being kind of like straight as a square. Part of the canvas was not completely dyed. I don't know why that was. I knew in my heart I had to return this item in a heartbeat. So of course I went back to the store, found the SA who was helping me, and I asked, can I return this? Unfortunately, here is where the problem came about. Now, because I paid through PayPal, they could not accept my return, or they couldn't even give my money back. Louis Vuitton doesn't really actually have the money. PayPal does, since they are a third party. And for that reason, the only way to return it is by you shipping your items back to Louis Vuitton to the warehouse. When I heard that I had to mail it back, I was just like, oh my god, like what if this gets lost in the mail? What's this? I think I was just over analyzing it too much at the time. I honestly wish I just mailed it back. I kindly asked the SA if she could find me another clay if it was available around my area, and luckily there was one right down the street from where I was. So I hopped into my car, went to that Louis Vuitton, and keep in mind this Louis Vuitton was in a department store, so it was not their standalone store. I was just approached by a random SA, and she asked me, oh, how can she help me? So I took out the clay out of the box and I showed it to her, and I said I need to exchange this for a new one. Automatically, right away, without any hesitation, she was like,
oh, we don't have this. I've never seen this before. This is probably still new. We don't have it in store.
And I was just like, first of all, you didn't even bother to check your computer. Like, she really didn't. She just immediately said, we don't have it. Now, I understand maybe she was just starting a new shift or whatnot, but the fact that you didn't even like check to see if the item was available in your stores on your computer or tablet, that pissed me off. So I told her I was just going to browse around just to see if I can find it. And Lord and behold, I found it in the glass display case. And I said to myself, this she didn't even bother to check. I went back to her and I was like, miss, it's in there. She was like,
no way, I had no idea.
She took it out. She's like,
oh my god, I'm so sorry, I didn't know.
I was like, yeah, sure you didn't. I examined everything, okay? I checked everything. It did look better than the first one. However, I mean, I was like, I guess this is what the newer clay look feels like, because it's just not the thicker canvas, right? I made a decision and I said, all right, I do want to exchange this. So the SA was like, all right, let me see what I can do. A moment later, she came back. She told me, unfortunately, because our store is in a department store and it's not a Louis Vuitton standing store, we can only exchange it for a final sale. So at this moment, I was just like, are you me right now? I cannot believe it. Why can't you just switch it? No one has to know, okay? But I get it. Company policy, they have to like record everything. I understand. I went back to the clay I have here. I looked, I made sure it looks okay, and I did it for a final exchange, and that was that. I left the store, I went to my car, and I sat there and I was just like, what just happened? Why did I go through all this hassle for? It was really unnecessary. I went back home, I took this clay out, I looked at it, and I started to notice, oh my god, there are some flaws too. Again, I know they're not gonna be 100% perfect, but that store did it to me. The store lighting did not capture everything that I wanted to see. It's slightly crooked. It's not as bad as the first one, but it's not eye level. Part of the canvas is not completely dyed. I did mention this in the first clay that I have. Now, I also found something very interesting about where the made in France and made in the USA clays are made from. You can tell this is made in the USA by the zipper aligning with the logo. The original clay that I have here, the logo is on the opposite side of the zipper when it's closed. So I thought that was very interesting. Made in France does say made in France, and the one made in the USA doesn't say anything. It just says Louis Vuitton, Paris. After a couple weeks, people started to buy this specific clay. They upload it on YouTube, and I looked at their clays. I have to admit, I just think the batch that we got was just not good, because a lot of people did complain that, you know, it feels cheaper, it was crooked, the stitching didn't look right. I mean, there was just a lot of complaints, and I knew I wasn't the only one. Now, I believe I only used it for a good 3 or 4 times, and after that, I legit tucked it away, I put it in my shelf, and I did not use it for a good 2 years. I kid you not. It just reminded me of that experience, and it just really discouraged me on using it. Up until this year, April of 2021, I started to look at it and I was like, you know what? I bought this for a reason. I do love the print. You know, I love the clay. Regardless of all the flaws that it has and the experience it went through, I just knew I need to use it to get my money's worth. So I have been using this and I kind of fell back in love with it, surprisingly. So that is good. I am kind of glad I didn't sell it when I did. If I was to buy it now, it does, how much it is? It's like $270. When I bought it, I think it was about $215. So it's a bit like $50 more. Overall, what can you take away from this video? Number one, I have to say, do not buy through PayPal. The worst thing I could have done. Just pay with your credit card and you're good to go. I personally wouldn't even buy through debit card just because I treat my debit card like cash, and if something was to happen, it's harder to get your cash back. Number two, this is pretty obvious. Don't do what I did, exchanging it for a final sale. If you see something wrong with it, just return it. Okay, get your full money back and then repurchase it. I think it just saves the hassle of exchanging it to another exchange. Number three, whether you are buying anything from Louis Vuitton or anything luxurious, when you get the item, make sure you go out in the sunlight and you look at the item, okay? Listen, quality control has been a thing. It's still a thing. And you know, we work hard for our money. We should definitely get things that are in pristine condition, right? So I highly suggest you look at every details, every corner, stitching, zipper, make sure it is up to par to your standard. Last thing you want to do is to keep an item that looks a little wonky, and then it's just going to make you feel like you don't want to use it. Number four, I have to say, is building a connection with one or two essays. I personally think it's so important to have those connections. If something goes wrong, they can really help assist you, and I don't know, I just think it just makes the overall experience just a little different than bouncing around to different essays here and there. It's just not the same. And number five, this is not really a tip, but more of opinion. If you ask me, do I think the Cles are worth it now? I have to be completely honest, I don't think they're worth it. I know they're so popular, it's like an entry-level piece, everyone wants it, I get it. I love my original one, but the newer models, I don't like it. The canvas is just less thicker. The hardware, it just doesn't feel as luxurious as it was before. And running into quality issues with the Cles especially, it just seems like Louis Vuitton is just mass producing all these Cles and not really making it with love anymore because it's so high in demand. If you do want a Cle, I do think it's better to buy from a secondhand market like Fashion File. Pay a little bit more. I know it hurts to pay much more than retail, but if you can get one in a decent condition made in 2014, 2015, or even before, I highly recommend it because the quality it's truly different. So there you have it, guys. That is my worst Louis Vuitton experience slash purchase. I know it's not like the worst and it's not like the end of the world, but I did want to share you guys my overall process and the overall thing I learned from this because it was a lesson learned for sure. And I definitely don't want you guys to go through this if you don't have to. So there's that. Please let me know in the comments down below if you had experienced any bad things from Louis Vuitton, whether it may be a defect purchase or maybe you didn't get along with an essay. I would love to hear your stories. As always, if you're new here, please consider subscribing to my channel. Give this video a thumbs up because it will help me in the long run. And of course, I will talk to you guys soon in the next. Have a great one. Bye.